All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I am Michael Summers, Chair of the State Board of Elections for the state of Maryland. I am declaring today's quorum is present at this time for our board meeting, September 24th, 2 p.m. All right. And with that being said, are there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, the que has all the members reviewed the minutes from 8/15/2024 meeting?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. The chair is open for motion to approve.
So moved.
Yes, Jake. So move has been moved by Vice Chair and seconded by Member Weissman. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All right, it has been approved unanimously uh, by the members. Thank you all so very much. Per the agenda, we are moving on to number 4. Since there are no additions to the agenda at this time, we're moving on to number 4, State Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to start off with some announcements and important meetings. And the first one is about the procuring of the new voting system. We had originally scheduled it for a new voting system for the 2026 election. But after careful consideration with the local boards, our procurement team, our IT team, and reviewing the requests for information responses, the RFIs that are out there, that at this time, it is best to postpone that purchase or procuring the new voting system for till the 2028 election. And I just want to make note that this will allow additional time for preparation and testing and training that will be required. We are at the time running multiple simultaneous big procurements, which was delayed due to the, I would say, the poll book problems that we had encountered. So, we have a finite number of resources internally with the LBEs as well as at the SBE here. They would be the same resources for procuring new voting systems that are using for a poll book. So that was a major consideration. And then one of the biggest considerations was that the Election Assistance Commission, the EAC, had yet to certify a new voting system under their VVSG 2.0 standards. They are currently testing equipment on that standard right now. I believe one or two vendors have, one vendor has submitted and is under testing. Another one is submitted. More are being submitted as we speak. The marketplace is not mature. So if we had gone out right now to procure a new voting system, we would be buying or leasing equipment that would be on the 1.0 standard with maybe a timeline to get to 2.0. Whereas if we wait and let the marketplace mature, we will be getting the most technologically and certified equipment out there with the EAC. So I think that this is the best possible solution. By no means, this means that we're taking a break from this. We are going to continue on with the procurement process, working with our state partners at DOIT to ensure a proper timeline. But I think that this allows for one, the marketplace to mature, and it creates a greater allowance for training as we move forward with it. I just want to say that when one speaks of the 2028 election, everyone thinks, oh, it's 2028, it's 4 years away and everything else. The election currently is scheduled in April. So, you know, you have to have the equipment much sooner than that. Then all of a sudden you look at it and going, okay, well then that's 2027. And then you start looking at a major IT procurement and you start thinking that, well, this is September of 24. We're in the process of it. It's still, I think, the correct timeline for such an undertaking here as well. So this is kind of, I just wanted to kind of not, keep that. I think that this is the best outcome and allows us things to move forward. Finally, before I see your hand raised, board member there, we have already initiated a contingency plan for coverage for the 2025 and 2026 election cycles for us here. Our voting equipment is, able to handle that. It's not towards the end of its life expectancy. The scanners, the voting equipment, the ballot marking devices are all in prime working condition here. So Marylanders can feel very confident in the upcoming 2026 election as well, that the equipment will be able to function properly there. So I just want to say that we have already the contingencies working and moving forward with this. And I think it will help the local boards knowing that they have some time, and it allows also the vendors now that they're not trying to rush or trying to promise that the current equipment that meets 1.0 standards has to meet some sort of artificial deadline to get to 2.0. And finally, just on the 1.0 standards here, the EAC is no longer certifying any equipment to that standard now. So all the equipment will be to this 2.0 standard here. So this is kind of, I think, the best solution, and I want it to be upfront and not wait about this announcement. So then we're going to reprioritize internally our timelines here and allow for a greater testing equipment here, which will allow also more vendors to submit for certification to us. Side note too, on the 2028 calendar here, it will be early voting will land on Easter. And so we'll be working with the General Assembly, hopefully this session here, to kind of possibly adjust the 2028 primary calendar. That's on them. It's a policy decision, but we recently moved it due to certain religious holidays here, and I felt that they would probably be wanting to be aware of it. And the longer we have time to look at the calendar and adapt, the better off we all are, rather than the session before in 2027. So I'll stop here if I can answer the questions if you want on this.
We will be getting the poll books though for the 2026 election, so that we're not trying to implement two different big things at the same time, correct?
Right. Yes, that was so right. We're pushing ahead on that and moving forward with it. Yes.
Okay, because that's really important to only do one at a time. Okay, thanks.
So now back to the regular administrator's report here. I met with members of the legislative strategic management seminar by the International Law Institute. They were basically foreign observers from multiple countries, from Africa and Asia. We discussed general topics about election administration, voter outreach campaigns, voting methods, the Electoral College, of course, and social media with mis and disinformation. The National Association of Secretaries and the National Association of Election Directors released a joint press statement earlier this month regarding concerns about delays with the Postal Service. we have a good working relationship with the Postal Service here in Maryland. But I just want to say that we have just policy here. We've mitigated a lot of some of those concerns that were addressed in those letters, most notably that we are a postmark state. So you can, if it's postmarked on election day, that ballot will be counted, even if it's received after election day. And we have it up to 10 days after election day for its receipt here. So that also helps with any delivery delays that other states were addressing in that letter. And of course, we have the 286 drop boxes throughout this, conveniently located throughout the state here for anybody who really doesn't want to use the Postal Service to return back their mail-in ballot. So that's kind of, I just wanted to I believe that letter has been sent to you, as well as the response. So we are hosting some international observers throughout the world on election day. We're of course vetting the groups through the State Department, the U.S. State Department, and currently we have requests from Croatia, Hungary, Nigeria, and we are of course receiving other invitations from other organizations as well. So I will be informing you of the delegations under the delegated duties portions there and moving forward with it. We also try to engage with the Governor's Year of Service program, but this time around we couldn't work it out to obtain a student this year. We are looking forward to continuing our efforts next year when we probably have a little bit more time. And now we're working with the Agency for Election Judge Recruitment and outreach programs as well. We have engaged with our media outreach campaign now for the general election. It was launched on August 23rd. We are hitting social media and web-based outlets, radio, TV ads are all part of the campaign. And, we are, as you can see here, we're getting a lot of impressions, clicks, and, visitors to our site. So we know that this will dramatically increase as mail-in ballots and sample ballots arrive in the mailbox there. So that's kind of the bigger parts there. The Candidacy and Campaign Finance Division, we had the special election in Prince George's, and their pre-general report had a compliance rate of almost 85%. And the next big report now due for the presidential cycle is due October 11th, and that is for ballot issue committees only, and then October 25th for all committee types, including the Prince George's special election here. The Fair Campaign Finance Fund is over $9.5 million right now. That's excellent for them. And we had a few enforcement actions there, mostly for failure to record contributions and expenditures and a missing authority line here. Overall, in election management here, the Wicomico County Board of Elections received a $50,000 grant to support making physical security enhancements to their local board office. The grant was from the Center of Tech and Civic Life. The local boards now, of course, are preparing for deploying all the voting equipment for the general election. So they're ongoing right now for logic and accuracy testing of the equipment and electronic poll books. I'm sorry, it wasn't Wicomico County, it was Worcester County. I'm sorry about the grant. And just to let you know, I'll probably go out and visit a county or two on the preparation of logic and accuracy testing as well. I thought that when I visited the warehouse for the deployment of the the drop boxes, I did a little bit behind the scene video there, and we are, I'm going to probably do another one there. I think that those little behind the scenes videos really show what we do, that it's not just, how everyone thinks that it's just one day of work here, but there's a lot of activity that goes on behind, and helps with the being transparent and open with the process here to kind of show all the steps to making sure that the election is, basically safe and secure, and that Marylanders can have confidence in its election results. In the issue here, I just wanted to note a lot of changes in polling places for Baltimore City. They had to move a few of them here, but none of the moves had access or affected historically disenfranchised communities due to the proximity of the replacement locations here. And basically, most of them were due to renovations or that they were no longer handicap accessible. So they were handicap accessible in the primary, but now no longer for this one here. So we are just making sure that they're all there. And due to with the legal changes here, we had to, Baltimore City Board of Election sent out notices to all the individuals who had signed up for this communication as required by law. And they did that on July 24th of this year. And they're planning to send out new voter registration notification cards to all the affected voters to communicate this change as well. So, and it will be in their specimen or specimen ballots with the new locations. So there are, I would say, notice for everyone for this here.
All right, great. You have a hand there, Jerry.
Yes.
Go ahead, Diane.
Did we get a letter about this, or was that letter about something different from Baltimore County?
This is Baltimore City,
City.
so this is just, I don't think you received a letter about this.
Okay, thanks.
And I believe that was about early voting centers, and that was in a Charles County. There was no letter sent or any, these were basically polling place changes delegated under the window under the bylaws to me to help move this along here. So this was that. Like I mentioned, the Dropbox deployment, we have the 286. There are now all, throughout the state, and they're open and available for use by voters. We have provided also a staffing surge to the LBEs that utilize our staffing contract here. These resources support various aspects of the election, including judge training, technical support, election equipment testing, polling place support as well. And we'll probably deploy just over 200 on election day alone as field support technicians as well. Voting in correctional facilities here, we sent out approximately 1,200 voting packets to all eligible voters in state and local correctional facilities. And we have short informational videos as well to those facilities for them. So, we're making sure that every eligible voter has the opportunity to vote. On the information systems, technology, and cybersecurity, basically here, it's mostly on the procurements here. As I mentioned before, we have the new voting system that will be, a little bit, it's fully staffed, and now we're expecting deployment for the 2028 election. And, we are right now moving forward with the statewide poll book modernization project. And, we're still moving forward with it. It was delayed. Like I said here, we are trying to move forward with it, but 26 is close. We do have a backup plan for that, and, you know, most likely it will be, you know, it could be deployed for the 2028 cycle as well. I know that you had mentioned that not to try to do both, but these projects here are big and complex, and we want to make sure that they're right and moving forward with it. The one moving forward right now is the campaign of reporting information system, MD Chris. We are basically having proposals, and we're receiving oral presentations as we speak. And so that is moving forward, and the current contract expires on the 31st of 2025 of March. So things are moving very well on that one there. And then finally, we have, of course, another one too, which is the voter registration and election management modernization project. This is taking MD voters and making sure that it is ready for the 2030 census and redistricting process there. So we're updating it and modernizing it to ensure a smooth redistricting effort in 2030. It's amazing how fast these years go by when you start thinking about things. So we, of course, are making sure our cybersecurity operations are running and, you know, 24/7, 365 days a year. And, you know, we are, you know, making sure that, you know, our network is safe and our website is also monitored as well. We will have a more briefing about this in our closed session. Just wanted to also let you know that we did a tabletop exercise in August, on August 13th, in preparation for the general election for November. It was a great tabletop. It allowed us to talk about and think about all mitigation strategies here, as well as avoidance. Additionally, we, of course, always run a full interruption failover to our recovery data center, and that was successful as well. So, you know, we're doing all our testing right now for any possibilities of cyber attacks. On personnel here, I'd just like to welcome back Shelley Holland to SBE. You might remember her. She was the former director of budget, and she left, but now everyone who left, you know, she wants to come back. This is great news. You know, she knows the system and can help us immediately. Hits the ground running. So I welcome Shelley back. It's been great. We have also hired Amanda Shepard to the Human Resources Division. She begins in October, and she comes from Timberlake Homes as their support assistant there. She has extensive HR experience. So it's great to have her now on the HR team. And the Candidacy and Campaign Finance Division has 3 new employees. It's, you know, Samira Kapoor, Erica Riley, and Sanjida Afroz were all recently hired. They're mostly in the audit division there. And, you know, it's going to be great because at this point here, the audits will be in full effect for 2025. So they have a little bit of time to get their feet wet and learn all the ins and outs, because it's a little bit different than any other type of audits that have been done in the past, and knowing all our rules. And so we're looking forward to having a robust audit program starting in 2025. With procurements here, we basically have a few that are just active, but I kind of gave you the big ones there for the IT portions of everything earlier. So I don't need to revisit that. Of course, mail-in voting, just wanted to let you know that that is, you know, a major portion right now. And we have sent out over 660,000 mail-in ballots. I think it's now over 700,000 ballots total. And, you know, so that division is, you know, actively, you know, making sure that all the ballots are being tracked and, you know, making it available for customer service as well if voters want to see if they put it in the mail where it is, or if they have questions about when it's going to be received by them. So we're all there. And if a voter does forget to say sign the oath, we have curing by text refresher trainings for all the LBEs that will be occurred on the 18th. So they're all ready to make sure that if there's any issues that we can help cure those ballots as quickly as possible. Again, making sure that every Marylander can vote. Voter registration and operations here continues. You know, we had a monthly audit of the voter registration data to verify compliance with federal and state laws. And you know, we are looking at, we finally dug into all the data that about why a voter said that they didn't receive an absentee ballot that voted provisionally in the primary election. This was that supplement information that I asked for here. We are now in the process of reviewing this and contacting the voters to make sure, you know, what, you know, if they didn't receive the absentee ballot, we're going to figure out why they didn't receive the absentee ballot. And if they received it but chose to vote in person, which was a big portion of this here, to see, you know, maybe they, you know, if they're on the permanent mail-in ballot list, if they want to get off of it. And you know, and of course, the voter that decided to change their vote and vote twice, you know, those are issues too that we have to look at and talk with the Office of the State Prosecutor about as well as if they didn't receive or didn't request an absentee ballot. These are issues that require further review and investigation. You know, of course, we have done all our audits to make sure that the primary election was correct. And one of the things is that we always do is a post-election comprehensive audit, which is we go through all 18 areas that we evaluate with the local board of elections there and the director. And then we issue those findings and recommendations to each of the director so that they can make corrections moving forward with it. And we will, of course, perform a comprehensive audit for the special primary election as well. Clear ballot, the automated audit was done for the Prince George's County special election. And that was, you know, of course, came back again with, you know, independent tabulation confirming our results of our voting system. So that's always good. In MD voters, we have almost 4.2 million active voters in the state of Maryland. And we are, of course, you know, processing MVA transactions there for us as well, just kind of moving forward with it. There's just charts and everything else. And then lastly, just for delegated duties, we updated the mail-in ballot application form to add the Green Party and, of course, the polling place changes that was mentioned earlier for the general election. With that, I submit this for as my administrator's report.
Thank you, Jared. We have a couple of questions. Member Weissman and then Vice Chair Salad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Damaris, just a couple questions. First off, what is a recruitment audit?
Basically making sure that they're filling their vacancies, right? Like, you know, so like you had a vacancy, you know, why haven't you posted, like, have you done basically the the MS-22, have you filled it out? Like, why haven't you, and if it still remains vacancy, like, why aren't you filling this vacancy? Do you need to move it to a different position? If you did go out, like, why didn't you like basically fill out all the paperwork on that front there?
Gotcha. Awesome. For the provisional ballot section, and first off, thank you again for this information. It's, I think, information that's invaluable from a transparency standpoint and for best practices. And so really appreciate you collecting this. For folks who did not receive the absentee ballot or say that they did not request an absentee ballot, are we doing, or a mail-in ballot, sorry, still didn't get out of that language, are we doing follow-up conversations to find out either why they didn't or why they did, like the follow-up?
Yes, I think now that we have some of this data here, like we're going to start doing a little bit of a deeper dive in it because we have this information than in the past. So yes, we are going to kind of look at it and see what we can do. And, and then it takes, when we do the review of that, where that goes, it is based upon the answers.
Sure. And then for where it says voter didn't request an absentee ballot, I noticed we didn't have a breakdown in terms of type of ballot, the way that we do for the folks who didn't receive. And I'm looking at the didn't receive, and it doesn't quite add up to the full amount. But do you know if there were any patterns in terms of mail versus internet versus fax, or is that something that'll come out with further investigation?
I think that will come out with further stuff right now. Right now, we're unsure about it. I think that, but I think this was also kind of like a supplement. And I think that in 2026, when we can put this, when we can flush out the provisional ballot application more with this information or built into it, I think will streamline it. This is kind of like the first foray into the process here. And now we see what we want to do and work with our law enforcement partners and saying, well, what needs to be done on this part here? Like how much more if I never received it, or if so, and we have it that we received it, all that good stuff at that point there.
Yeah, figuring out why. I mean, I noticed we have 1,800 folks who say they did not receive the mail-in ballot, and then we only have counts of 208 in terms of what their mechanism was of receiving the ballot, and so there's some data missing there. Last question.
But if I may, that was a pure hypothetical, correct? Member Weissman?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Last question for the post-election comprehensive audit. Can you just explain to me the process? The primary was in April. The general election is coming up in 40 some odd days. Just in terms of, obviously the information isn't very useful to the locals now, but can you kind of walk me through in terms of how long this process takes and then kind of what our hope is for the locals to use this information?
So it wasn't in April, it was in May.
Sorry, May.
It was later. Yes. So, I mean, basically it's a collection of all the information. And so it's not like an instantaneous process, right? It's not like all of a sudden, we just hit a button and all the data comes there. It is, we review the Canvas minutes and making sure that everything is a part of that process there. Wait, am I frozen here or? Oh, okay.
We can hear you.
Good. And it's making, and then it's also a part of with individuals with double voting credit. We have to investigate that with the local boards. So there's a lot of, I would say, technical stuff that is coming on that is not necessarily a something that would be done immediately. And we are in the process of kind of, I would say, collecting that information. And as soon as we get it, we also piece it out so it's not one huge process to them. They get like, oh, we've this part of the comprehensive audit, we found this, please fix this the next time around. Or, so at the end, while we say it's comprehensive, it touches almost every part of every division at the State Board of Elections, and we kind of work with them on that front there. And, I would say it is you have to wait until after all the certification occurs before you actually get all the data. So you're really looking at the start of June before this here. Then, once again, you look at it this way here, it's really June and then July and then August, like 3 months to do a comprehensive audit to start like releasing it.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just because of the tight turnaround here. But that's kind of the schedule there. So of everything.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
No problem.
All right, thank you. Member Shallot.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, Jared, once again, I just want to congratulate you. Your reports are so comprehensive and very transparent. But two issues you raise, I just had some questions and concerns. First, you mentioned that a group gave $50,000 to the Worcester. Am I always pronouncing
Yeah, it's Worcester.
right?
I said was like Comico, but it's Worcester. So
Yeah, a group gave $50,000 to Worcester Board of Elections to enhance their security. Could you tell, is that a private organization or entity? Could you tell us
yes,
who's giving them $50,000?
it's a grant. It is a grant that the local boards basically applied for. It was up to the local Board of Election and the county government. It is the Center for Tech and Civic Life. We're out of the process of that, and the grant was for physical security measures they applied for it for physical security measures to help protect the office from I'd say attacks. And in this case here, it was for bulletproof glass, and they applied for it on their own. We apply for grants as well, but most of our grants are with the EAC. But we always look for funding or anything else to help us with our operations, especially if we can, see or look for any monies. But we kind of our grants are usually from the EAC or other like governmental entities.
Well, is this group giving $50,000? Is that a private entity?
Yes, it
or
is.
government?
It is a private entity.
And do we know who's behind this entity? And
So
are
yes,
they?
a list of their people that sponsor the funding are on their website for the Civic of for Tech and Civic Life. It's the Center for Tech and Civic Life is the name.
Yeah, I just have a serious concern that a Board of Elections is taking money from a private entity. I don't know if other board members share that, but I don't think any Board of Elections should be taking money from private citizens or private groups. I just have a big concern as to who these people are. Why are they doing it? I mean, why is this group concerned about glass in Worcester County? I just have a serious concern about private money going to any Board of Elections. I just shared that. You mentioned that the state board, we can't get involved in that transaction at all.
Well, we didn't apply for it. The local boards are, again, semi-independent on that, and they also had to work with the county government on that front there. It's not like we approve that they want to make any like physical enhancements there. So the county commissioners, we know that the county commissioners in Worcester County had to approve the grant for it as well.
We don't have any authority to approve or disapprove something like that? The
I
State Board of Elections?
Dan, are you on? I know that you're on the line here. I don't believe we have that, but we can verify that and check on that front.
Yeah, you know, I defer to the rest of the board on how they feel.
I defer to
All right.
Dan on that one there for that.
It
Yeah,
looks
I'm
like member Weissman wants to speak to the issue, but was there someone else chiming in on that prior to? No?
I think member Butler was
Am I
raising,
frozen?
Ms. Butler was raising her hand.
Member Weissman, you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You are frozen, but Ms. Butler was raising her hand. I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah, Diane's got her hand up, I see.
Yeah, I think Diane was.
Yeah, please.
She's muted.
Okay, so I agree with Jim. And I think, and CTCL is the same group that was the Zuckerbucks, that's where that came from, that did all that stuff last time around, the $350 million. So unfortunately, to me, that's private money in our elections. And I agree with Jim, it shouldn't be there. 28 states have outlawed this, and Maryland has not outlawed it yet. It should be outlawed as far as I'm concerned. I just find that taking private money really is not a good look for us, period. And then when Jim is done, I have a couple other questions about other things that you had on there, Jared, that are different conversations. But this one is CCTL, and that is the one that was the Zuckerbucks from before. It's the same group. They've just branched out and put their names in different things, but that's who it is.
I just had one more concern, Mr. Chair, if I could just briefly raise that.
Yes, go ahead. Can you guys hear me? Because it seemed like you guys
Yeah,
froze
no, we're
and I
good,
went
we're
out.
good.
Okay, I'm back in. All right. So
One more
thank you.
concern.
All right.
Jeff.
I think it seemed that Member Weissman wanted to speak to your first
Well, then
statement. I didn't know,
wait till
or
Mr.
hold
Shell's
on.
done. I can
Okay,
wait till
go
the
ahead.
Vice Chair's done.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
And yeah, my last concern. You mentioned that 1,200 voting information packets were sent to inmates in jails,
Mhm.
county and state facilities. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
I used to know this from my Board of Elections in Montgomery County, but who is eligible to vote who's incarcerated? I mean, is
Pretrial
someone-
detainees, because you have to be convicted of a felon and incarcerated at the exact same time. So if you're waiting trial, you're eligible to vote. So mostly pretrial detainees. If you're in jail for a misdemeanor, then you're still eligible to vote. So this is, making sure that those individuals are eligible to cast their ballots.
So these are people that have not been convicted yet, but they're in jail awaiting trial.
Majority of them, yes. But I mean, you could be in jail, or I'm sorry, you can be in jail for a misdemeanor and still be eligible to vote because it's only for felonies and incarceration.
So even though someone's waiting in jail charged with murder, they can still vote?
If they're not convicted, then yes, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
All
Thank
right.
you, Mr. Chair.
No problem, Member Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I don't want to harp on this and appreciate the point the Vice Chair and Ms. Butler are making. A couple things I want to point out. Number one, under Maryland law, it is not illegal to take, for local boards of elections, to take funds from a 501c3, which is, I'm looking at the 990, that's on CTCL's website. And so Worcester County didn't do anything wrong here by applying, and the money going to fortify physical security, right, doesn't raise any alarms for me in terms of any untoward influence. I also do think with Congress, with the feds dramatically underfunding boards of elections, especially on the local levels, it's great that there are organizations, nonpartisan organizations, willing to step up. I mean, I'm looking at the Board of Elections. I think the 990. I think Ms. Butler called them Zuckerbucks. Did I hear right? I'm assuming Mark Zuckerberg has something to do with this. He's not mentioned on the 990. And look, I mean, I'm no more a fan of Meta than anybody else, but billionaires spending their money to make our election boards a bit safer physically is a whole lot better than a lot of other money that rich people use. So I think I do just want to clarify, as I understand it, there is nothing illegal that Worcester County did. And this is dealing with physical security, not electronic security or digital security or something that could impact or have any connection with the operations of the election. It could just make folks feel a bit more comfortable in kind of the dangerous times for our local election official. So I kind of want to give that other point of view. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you both for those comments. Member Butler.
Thank you, Jake, and I understand what you're saying. It's just, one of the reasons we're so underfunded right now, though, is because the Zuckerbucks were put in there so that we could all go to this mail-in voting before we were ready. And some of the smaller counties are really struggling with this. But my other question here is, Jared, we had a problem with the drop boxes. Did that get fixed at all over the state? Or because I was on the, I listened in on the Howard County meeting yesterday, and Guy was talking about how they had fixed it at their end because where the ballots go in and people thought it was locked. Did we send something out to get that fixed so that
So-
like on state level, or just the county's fixing it?
So yeah, we actually did a lot of work with it, and I want to thank my team with
Good.
Russell and Jen from that. They went back to the drop boxes there and really kind of came up with some viable solutions. So we gave a bunch of solutions out to the counties because we want to see which one kind of works the best, and we're going to start tracking a lot more of these calls too. Just to let you know. So like, so as we get calls from like, I want to know when we get a call saying, hey, the Dropbox is closed. I want to know what county it is because they might have done like a something that like we said you can tape over the lock, or we have like this idea of putting a piece of paper over the lock. Others have put a white I hate this, like a travel soap container box, right? That covers the lock with holes, and they painted it white to hold it that the lock would not be shown. And so we're seeing if that works. So we have other ones. They actually thought of like those like noodles that go into pools to kind of like put over it because it has to be weatherproof and tight around the lock, so you can't just hide it. And so there are various kind of like solutions that are being kind of implemented throughout the counties. And so we're going to track to see if the calls go down, and if we do receive calls like, oh, which county it is, and see, well, that method seemed to not work because people still thought it was or it came out. So, yeah, we implemented a lot of temporary solutions for this to kind of cut down on some of the calls.
Yeah, I know, because Guy said they're putting their lock inside or something, but that's good. I'm glad-
Exactly, right. Like everyone's going to come
Trying
back,
to-
and then we it's kind of like using like the counties as experiments here. Like we all get these calls here. We'll come up with a best practice for 26, and we'll implement that based upon the best practice here.
And one more quick question. It says, you said 1,200, but this says 12,000. How many voting packets did we send?
12,000. Sorry,
12
12,000.
12,000 people in the jails. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any further questions regarding the administrator's report? No? All right, thank you very much, Jared. Greatly appreciate your report. We are now moving on to number 5, the Assistant Attorney General's report.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I'll deliver the Assistant Attorney General's report. If there's any questions, obviously raise a hand, cut me off. I'll be happy to answer what I can in public session.
1 second. We are still having a little trouble hearing you.
Oh,
It's been indicated by some of the members, so it's just not the chair. So if you could do
how's that? Is that any
anything.
better?
Yes, a lot better. Thank
Okay.
you.
So I'll deliver the report. If there are any questions, obviously raise a hand or just jump right in. I will answer what I can in open session and what I can't either later or in closed session. I'll first note that for the report, 2 cases have dropped off. They are no longer on the report. Those were the 2 Baltimore City ballot challenges that started back in August and were completed in the Supreme Court as of August 28th, where the Supreme Court issued an order removing both questions from the ballot. And so they did not appear on the ballot. The order was in time. The Supreme Court heeded our request to decide those cases expeditiously. And so everything there was resolved timely for purposes, for the state board's purposes. For the cases that are remaining and are new on the ballot, so one is Sullivan v. Summers. That is the NVRA lawsuit still ongoing in the District of Maryland in the Federal District Court. OAG replied in opposition to the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment on September 13th. And yesterday, the plaintiffs, if they filed their final reply on the motion for summary judgment, it's now in the court's hands, and the district court will decide to which party it should grant summary judgment sometime in the coming weeks or months. Number 2 is Wicomico County branch of the NAACP versus Wicomico County. That is still in a posture where we are waiting for a conference, a settlement conference, which actually is currently scheduled for late November. The parties have asked the court that if there are any open dates or any dates open up between now and late November, that we move up and get to that settlement conference sooner. Gibson versus Frederick is the appeal in the Fourth Circuit based on the allegations that Maryland is engaged in a RICO-style conspiracy. That case remains pending in the Fourth Circuit and has remained pending since the early winter of last year. We're still waiting for a decision. Maryland election integrity versus the state board is also a Fourth Circuit appeal. The appellees, OAG on behalf of the state board, filed a brief in early August. The appellants replied and filed a reply brief at the end of August. And about a week later, the Fourth Circuit set the case in for oral argument. And so oral argument will take place in December during the court's December session. That will be sometime between the 10th and the 13th. They have not given us a specific argument date yet, but I will be going down to Richmond to argue the case on behalf of the state board. And then the final case, or I'm sorry, the second to last case is Osachukwu versus the state board. This was a lawsuit alleging that the 10,000 signature petition requirement for an unaffiliated candidate to join the general election ballot was unconstitutional. OAG filed a motion to dismiss this case in mid-August, and about 2 weeks later, the court agreed and dismissed the case. So this is the only meeting that this case is going to appear on. And the last is in the matter of Anthony Aimbridge, which at the time I wrote it, that's what it was captioned. It is now captioned Maryland State Board of Elections v. Aimbridge in the Supreme Court. This is a case filed on, or a suit filed on September 5th, seeking judicial review of the Baltimore City general election ballot, challenging review or challenging ballot question F, which has to do with development of attractive land in the city surrounding the Inner Harbor. The case was in the circuit court up until approximately the September 16th. On that date, the circuit court for Anne Arundel County ruled in favor of the petitioners, finding that the ballot question both was improper charter material and unclear ballot language, and granting the petitioners a remedy nullifying the ballot question. And so currently there is a court order out of the circuit court for Anne Arundel County to not certify the results of ballot question F. The state board has filed an appeal to the Supreme Court of the circuit court's judgment and is now joined by the mayor and city council of Baltimore and MCB-HP Baltimore, which I believe is a real estate development corporation with an interest in the tract of land. All 3 parties, SBE, the city, and the developer, are going to be appellants in the Supreme Court. SBE is only arguing that the circuit court's judgment was incorrect for procedural reasons, that this type of lawsuit is not the type of lawsuit in which to attack a ballot question, and it was filed too late to do so. The city and the developer, as far as I know, I'm not divulging state secrets, are going to defend the ballot question itself, arguing that it was a valid ballot question and should not have been stricken from the ballot. In addition, when SBE noted its appeal, we filed a request for a stay of the circuit court's judgment to essentially pause it while this appeal is pending. And what that would do is we'd be able, and when I say we, I mean SBE, the city, and the local board would be able to try to inform the public that the question is live and that they should vote it. And I'll say now, for anyone watching this on YouTube, vote the question, because if SBE prevails, this is still a live question that will have election results, and every vote should be counted. If a voter returns their ballot, and mail-in ballots, I believe, are in hand. I know web delivery ones are. Mail ones, I believe, are arriving. And I saw in my little USPS mail notification delivery today that I'm getting mine today. But if with ballots in hand, if a voter fills out their ballot but does not fill out question F, they will not, and then hands the ballot back, returns it in a Dropbox or by mail, you cannot get a second ballot in order to vote question F. You have to vote it on the original ballot. And so we want to make sure that voters still record their preference for question F in case we prevail or the city prevails in the Supreme Court and reverses the circuit court's judgment. In terms of a decision on the stay, the registered voters who brought the challenge are responding to our request by close of business today. And I'm hopeful that the Supreme Court will have a ruling on the stay within the next 24 to 36 hours. And I believe that those are all the cases on the list. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
The chair recognizes Vice Chair Shalek, followed by Member Butler.
Dan, thank you again. Can you just refresh me? I don't know if anybody else needs that refreshment. What are the allegations by the Baltimore NAACP? On their lawsuit?
Wacomico County NAACP?
I'm sorry, Wycomico County.
Right, you're not talking about the Charles County issue.
No, Dan mentioned the case with the NAACP. I've just,
Yeah.
I
case
can't
number
recall
2
what
on
their
the list.
allegations are.
Sure. Case number 2 on the list, the allegations, plaintiffs allege in that case that Wacomico County, as a local jurisdiction for purposes of its county commissioner system and its local board of education, is apportioned in violation of the Voting Rights Act in a way that dilutes a racial or ethnic minority's voting power in the county.
So we're defending that, not the local.
We are not, no. So there are multiple defendants in that case. The case names as defendants Wacomico County itself, the local board, the state board of education, and the local board of education. The state board of education filed an answer in this case, and it's public record, and I'm happy to send you a copy, which does not admit or deny any of the allegations because the state board is not in a position to be able to judge Wacomico County's apportionment.
Right.
The state board is essentially a target for a court order. If the court has to order a new apportionment in the county, it would have to tell the state board to conduct the election in accordance with that apportionment. So we're essentially in there as the target for a court order. We are not mounting any kind of substantive defense to that lawsuit.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Thanks.
All right, Member Butler.
In the meeting yesterday, the attorney for Howard County made some comment about the North Carolina selfie with the ballot in the polling place. Do we know anything about that, or do we need to not worry about that?
I don't exactly know it. I wasn't in the meeting with Howard County yesterday, but if it's something that's going to involve some substantive legal advice, please ask me in closed session.
Okay, right. Thanks.
Sure.
All right. Are there any other questions, concerns regarding the AG report, Assistant Attorney General's report? All right, hearing none. Thank you so very much, Dan. Let you back at it. We'll be with you shortly. All right, moving on the agenda, item number 6, Title 13 late fee waiver request. I will ask if everyone present has reviewed and read the Title 13 late fee waiver request that was shared.
Yes.
Mhm.
Are there any questions, concerns? There is one noted for approval, the rest denied. All those in, is there a motion to accept the administrator's um, um, approval of title for the Title 13 late fee waiver request? Chair recognizes Member Weissman.
That's so moved.
Is there a second? It's been properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It is unanimous and so moved. Thank you so very, very much. Moving on to number 7, Title 14 waivers. Have all of the members reviewed the Title 14 waiver material shared? All right. Is there a motion to accept the administrator's recommendations for Title 14 waivers? Is it
Oh,
is
so
moved by Member Weissman? Is there a second?
Second.
Properly seconded by Vice Chair Shout. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So moved. Thank you so very much, Alan and team. And we are moving on to the ballot marking device allocation request.
Yes. It's back to me. Okay. So front of you, let's see this here. Up here. This here. So we have ballot allocation requests from certain counties here. The memo clearly spells them out. So this is in order to accommodate voters and to avoid unnecessarily delays or long lines. The chart here for this was the number of ones that were so I just want to put in here the number of additional ballot marking devices that were approved in the primary do not carry over. So you'll see that chart there. So a lot of them are the same number that they requested in the primary for the general here. And the other number here is just the total numbers that are then deployed for that specific location in total here. And we have the number of registered voters, and then, of course, the highest single turnout day for early voting here as well. So the one that I probably just want to note was in Charles County, and because they did not request a number last time, and now they're requesting 3 to bring the total number to 6. There was a letter from the community regarding that location and that there were some lines. I want to commend the Charles County director. She worked with us on this here and, saw this and moved forward with it and said, we'll put the maximum number here, 6, to accommodate that location. So I think that will be a great addition there, but I just wanted to mention that. And then the rest, usually the biggest ones too, we saw some increases in Montgomery County. They wanted to deploy a few extras from the primary to the general. The general is usually a higher turnout. So I know that the election director there is always, he's like me, we worry about everything there. So, to prevent any of these long lines, I recommend approval of all these requests for the general election for these additional units to be deployed.
Thank you very much, Jared. Are there any questions regarding the ballot marking device allocation requests delivered by our state administrator? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the administrator's recommendation?
So move.
It has been properly moved by the vice chair. Is there a second? Looks like it's been seconded by Member Jackie Stanley. Thank you all very much. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand of the administrator's recommendation. It is so moved unanimously. Thank you very much. Is there any old business to bring forward today? No? Any new business?
Yeah, I had some.
Okay, I see Vice Chair and then Diane.
Oh, Mr. Chair, thank you. I had mentioned this to Jared, and I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention to see if there's a plan that we could put in place. I don't know about the rest of the board, but I get quite a significant amount of inquiries, concerns, uh, criticisms from the public, from individuals and organizations regarding what we do, questions about the election system, the machines, et cetera, et cetera. And people ask me to respond. For example, recently I got a request from an organization asking, what are we doing to prevent illegal citizens, non-citizens, from voting? Which is a major question, an important question, and people certainly have the right to know. But I don't feel comfortable speaking or answering these questions on behalf of the board. Mike is our chair, Katie is our vice chair, and Jared is our administrator, and they should be speaking on behalf of the board, not me.
Well, Jim, a point of clarification, you are the vice chair. I'm the chair, not
You're the
Katie.
chair,
You're the vice chair.
but you're the
So
chair.
I am the chair. I just don't, point of clarification, Jim Shalik is our vice chair. And we do have a mode of operandi for that, but go ahead, finish your
Well, no, that and
inquiry.
I'm glad you raised that. Shouldn't these people be directed to staff or somebody designated by Jared? We have some procedure where these questions, which are very important, people certainly have a right to know, can be answered fully on behalf of the board. I'm sure we all get questions and concerns and criticisms, but shouldn't it be formalized in a process, especially with this election, which is on everybody's mind and concern. So I just put that out in new business. When people send a request for a question or an organization, what should we do?
Yeah, that's a good question. And what we've done in the past and what other members have demonstrated effectively is that they share that information with the state administrator if there's any question, as well as myself. If there needs to be a formal response put forward by the board, it needs to come from the state administrator or the chair. If we want to look or present as an effective, cohesive, nonpartisan, bipartisan committee. Now, I am not saying that you don't need to respond to criticism, Jim. I think you're very, very capable of responding effectively to criticism if it's being directed at yourself and or the board. But if you feel that it is something that we need to know, and I think it would be prudent to share it with the state administrator so that no one is caught off guard. And that's collective for everyone. So this is a good point that you brought up, Jim. But I think so that you don't have to feel alone out there. I definitely would share any of your concerns, or if there needs to be a comprehensive response put forward to the state administrator and the chair, so that those signatures can be applied as as appropriate. Okay.
Yeah, like for example, this group that wants to know what we're doing to prevent non-citizens from voting. There's been a lot of correspondence regarding some confusion about the opt-in, opt-out issues we had talked about. So I should raise
Again,
those
yeah.
with Jared. I mean, I don't
Again,
want to.
is so that it's comprehensive and that we're not speaking in silos or that we're not speaking in the dark. Because right now I don't know what those criticisms are. So, but yeah,
Questions.
for something or questions or concerns, there is a process if they would like to, make public comment, or they can draft letters directly to the state administrator and it can be shared amongst all of us so that we're all clear and can respond accordingly.
And they can appear
Yeah.
either by Zoom or in person at our meetings. to
They can
raise any
speak. They can speak.
Okay.
This is yes, they have there is a methodology for them to request public comment.
Okay.
Okay, we're good
Thank
to go
you.
with that. All right, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank
I seen Member Butler, and then we're going to Member Jackson Stanley. Yes.
Okay, I got a couple of things. It's come to my attention that some of the counties are not running their board meetings in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. And nor are they following the decorum of the Roberts rules. And it's caused confusion. I get lots and lots of phone calls. The citizens that are attending these meetings or attempting to attend them. There's a process for open meeting. And I think that the state board needs to reiterate that with the boards, that the Open Meeting Act means that you have to have it up on the website, within a certain number of days. You have to have your minutes up there. And these are board meetings. On top of that, the board needs to be running the board meetings. Michael, you always run our meeting. Jared doesn't run our meeting. And we've got board members we've got boards that the directors are running the meetings. We've got boards that people that aren't even a board member or on the Board of Elections, running the meetings and talking through the whole thing. And I had new board members call me up and they say, what is happening? There's no process. I mean, we're supposed to be using, and especially for decorum, Robert's rules. I mean, there have been meetings where people are hollering at each other, and in public meetings and in closed meetings, it's not acceptable. And we need to put something out and make sure that they understand to be using Robert's rules. They understand that the citizens have an opportunity. These are open meetings for a reason. And it's really important that the citizens go and see not only well-run meetings, but also have the opportunity to know when they're allowed to ask a question or what they're allowed to do. And with other chaos in some of these, and this is not one county, I'm talking 3 different counties that I've gotten all kinds of problems, through these. So I would like the state board to issue something along those lines to deal with these kinds of things. And especially decorum. I mean, that's a real problem for that. I had one more thing here. Oh, also at the Howard County meeting yesterday, they brought up something that the state got a list of 1,200 deceased voters to be removed from the rolls. And they were asking if that was done. And they asked me to bring that up here because I was on the state board and I just happened to be sitting there. And so that, I guess there was a letter that was sent because I guess the certain counties got 50 people where they got 100 people, and they asked me to bring that up. Were those 1,200 deceased voters removed from the ballot? And then my other one is, that was about the meeting and the decorum. And then there's the other process. And next time I'd like to talk about the evaluations too for the directors. I think that's an important part of what we do, is evaluating how things are going. And I think some of the board members feel like they're being left out of the process. And I think we need to set up rules for that too, that all the board members, their comments are all included into that. But the directors need to know what their job is. And if there's a struggle there, then we need to help train them. If there's a problem and they don't understand, what's happening, then they need to have the training done also.
And Diane, is this at the local board level or is this at
Local,
this
yeah,
level?
local boards.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It
like
sounded,
different county boards, yeah.
okay.
And then there was a whole thing about the judges, and I guess the state board, okay, the judges are supposed to be 50-50 between the minority party and the majority party. And I guess some of the counties don't have enough of the minority party judges. And so they brought it to the board, and they brought, other Republican judges to fill those spots and whatever. But the state board made some kind of comment that they weren't going to push the law on, the 50-50 thing. If they had already hired the judges, they weren't going to go back and make them, take a Democrat off to put a Republican on in order to make that even Steven. But if we're following the laws, we need to follow all of the laws. I don't think we should be, as the board, putting out things saying that we're not going to follow that particular law because it's too late or whatever. To me, that's not the way to handle that. I think we need to be handling that in a totally different manner than that. And if there are, ways that we can fix that right away, then that would be good also. But our guidance can't be that we pick and choose the laws. Our guidance just can't be.
Well, I hear you, Diane. Now, is that a question or an accusation? Because I don't know if we really want to make, I don't know if we want to put on the record an accusation without the
No,
state
I don't.
administrator speaking to it.
No, and if this needs to be in the the private meetings too, that's fine. I just
No,
don't know
it's
where-
fine. I just
where to
wanted,
put these things. Yeah.
I just want clarification on your statement. With
Well, I guess it
regards
was-
to the state board. So
Well,
I was gonna making a statement. So, Jared,
Okay.
to that point, um,
There was a
Well,
meeting.
I know this is number 3 or 4 of your questions. Do you have more? I
This is
don't want to
no, this is the
stifle.
end of this one. There was a meeting right before this, and they called me right before the meeting, which is why I haven't had a chance to talk to Jared. And there was a motion made in the meeting that they should be in compliance with the law, and the motion was voted down. And so they called me up
Not
and
by this board, not
No.
by this board,
no,
correct?
by a county board.
Okay, thank you.
And they called right before this meeting, so I haven't been able to deal with it in any other way.
Okay,
shape, or form.
okay.
Okay, so that's.
Well, it
the-
sounds like we definitely need to get some
we need-
clarification on
Yeah,
that.
we do. We
But
do. Yeah, okay.
Member Weissman, I know you're there. Vicky, I think Member Weissman wanted to speak to something.
If I can just
Member
give a
Butler
clarification, Mr. Chair. As,
Yeah,
as I read the law, it's not a requirement that it needs to be a Republican and Democrat, because there are also undeclared voters, there are third-party voters who also go into that mix. It's a matter of, it's supposed to be two chief judges from two different parties or two different party configurations, not specifically Democratic and Republican. And just want to offer that clarification. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
no problem. And it's also dependent upon the primary versus the general. The primary that no third-party candidates are permitted, as I understand it.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
thank you. I'll be brief. Following up with what our vice chair spoke to about people coming to you, asking questions about, I'm calling it fairness of the election and who's allowed to vote and who's not. Because here on the shore, I get it all over the place. But my response seems to satisfy people to say, we're doing our best to keep all elections fair and impartial. And if there's a problem with something, they need to contact our state board. You know, there's a chain of authority here. I do not speak for the State Board of Elections, and I tell people that, and that seems to satisfy them at least for a little bit. You know, it's like, yeah. But telling them there's a chain of command and then following up with, this is how you make a complaint or this is how you make an issue seems to satisfy at least that initial anger, because there is so much confusion. But I'm glad that you were able to clarify that clarification is in my mind. Would Michael be the first person, or would it be Jared, our state administrator, to give them that follow-up information? Contact this person and they'll give you the straight scoop. That's for clarification purposes. My question, I have just one. We in Cambridge are in the middle of a nonpartisan city election. Because I'm the former mayor, everybody and his brother thinks I have infinite power, which I, of course, do not. I've been telling them, and I'm telling them that this is coming from the State Board of Elections, that even on nonpartisan elections, I should not be endorsing a particular candidate one over the other, because it could be viewed as being political. Am I solid in that response? Because I say that because one candidate is being supported by the Democratic Party here in Dorchester, though it's nonpartisan, but on her paper, it says endorsed by da-da-da-da-da. The other candidate, I know a good friend of mine, a good Republican guy, I like him a lot, but I'm telling both, I cannot endorse either person for any position. Am I stretching my authority by saying I cannot, or am I on target that I cannot? Did I say that right? You all look confused.
I guess.
Let me repeat it. It's a nonpartisan election. Am I correct in telling everybody I will not endorse a particular candidate one over the other, because it could be viewed as being a political support one over the other? That's all.
I'll allow the administrator or Dan to possibly speak to that.
Yeah, that's more of a legal question based upon the roles that we sign up for. There are parts that you can engage in activities, but Dan, I think, do you want to cite the the law about that. But I don't know if this is giving out legal advice or not.
Yeah, I'd rather do that in closed session.
Okay,
Thank you very
I
much.
figured as such. I just wanted to kind of like, yeah.
And that's a great question, Victoria and Vicky. So we will be bringing that up.
Yeah, I
during
can
closed
wait.
session.
I have someone I must deal with right now,
No problem.
but I'm listening and
Okay.
I vote with the majority.
Uh, all right. Diane?
One more thing, Jared, you and I had talked about that opt-out. There was a letter that came about the opt-out, and you were going to address that at some point. Did that get addressed anywhere in this meeting?
I was waiting for your question on that. So
Okay. We got a letter from people talking about the opting out of if you get a mail-in ballot and then you have up until a certain date. Well, no, I guess you don't have a certain date. And I guess in the letter, they were stating that we should have a deadline date for opting out of the mail-in ballot if you ask for one, so that there isn't the confusion of coming in 3 days before the election and trying to opt out of getting the mail-in ballot. And I'm not saying that very well. Jared, you can say it.
Well, and I just want, before we get into that, I just wanted to say about the local board and some of the I would say issues that are going on and following Robert rules. They need to follow up with the local board council, like we have ours here, and it's the board itself to address council to help making sure that is a part of it. Additionally, while it's a whiles away here, we will make sure that is addressed for open meetings and decorum at board meetings is addressed in our biannual conference next year when we have that session there. So we'll make sure that we put that together on that front there. So for the board, there was some letters that we had sent out to you that addressed the fact that mail-in voters received a notice that that basically allowed them to opt out of receiving the mail-in ballot, and basically nullifying that ballot and allowing that individual to vote in person if they so choose to are inclined to do that. And we do this now at this stage here for administrative purposes. And so I want to turn this over because Katie Berry has been a person that understands this process better than almost anybody else, because she's seen the policy aspect of it as well as the technical aspects and the practical aspects of it as being as an election director. So Katie, do you mind answering Ms. Butler's question for us?
Sure. So to clarify, the opt-out is a method that is used to help keep our local boards from having being inundated with provisional ballots. So what this is giving the voter that requested a mail-in ballot the opportunity to do is change their mind. So the voter can go online in our voter services and they can change their status of getting a mail-in ballot. It voids their mail-in ballot if they have already received one, and it allows them to go and vote in person. And that is done, as a regular ballot instead of it being a provisional ballot as it currently is. So the process that is undertaken in voter services when a voter requests to be canceled, it happens in our overnight process, and it is loaded directly into the voter's record. So there is no additional administrative burden in that capacity. We were trying to eliminate the administrative burden and the frustration for the voter as well of having them get a mail-in ballot and then be forced to have that ballot or to vote a provisional ballot in person. So this effectively allows them to vote in person without any issues if they opt out.
Okay, thank you. And I think that it's great that it's a 24-hour turnaround. I think that's really helpful. I still think a deadline would be better, but And then, and speaking to Jared of what you just said, dealing with this at the conference is way too late. These board meetings, we're going to have canvas meetings and whatever, that needs to be dealt with right away, especially open meeting laws. They need to be following those, especially when we have all these canvases coming up. So we can talk about that later, about how to get that out a lot sooner. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So that sounds like we have completed the new business section. Let's see. We are moving on to disclosure of any campaign contributions. Is there any disclosure out there of any campaign contributions at this time? All right, glad to see and hear that. Scheduled next meeting for October 24th, 2020. I'm sorry. Our next meeting is set for November. What are we looking at? Early November? What is that November date that was sent out?
I think, Mr. Chair, we're still meeting on October 24th, and then again, we have a hold
At 2
on
p.m.
November
Okay.
5th.
I gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. So that at October 24th is still a good date for everyone, 2
Yes.
p.m.
That's
Yes.
good for me, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr.
Excellent.
Chair,
Yes. Vic,
Jackson
yes.
Stanley, I was talking and obviously missed the disclosure of campaign contributions portion of our agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to report that I did make 2 campaign contributions between last meeting and this.
All right.
One contribution to Kamala Harris and one contribution to Angela Alsobrooks.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we were on scheduling our next meeting, October 24th, 2024, 2 p.m. still works for you, Member Jackson Stanley?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And now we are moving to closed session. The closed session today will be under the statutory authority, the general provision, Article 3-305(7) to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice, 10 to discuss public security, and 15 to discuss cybersecurity. That cybersecurity is our quarterly security briefing. And we are in review of early voting and election day security plans under Articles 3, Section -305(b)(10). Is there a motion to move into closed session? Yes, Jake,
So move, Mr. Chair.
is there a second?
Second,
It has been properly seconded by Vice Chair. Is Member Jackson Stanley available? All
Yes,
right.
sir. I'm sorry.
All those, no problem. All those in favor for the closed session, please indicate by
Aye.
raising your hand. So move. Now, the chair is open to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn open session? Member Weissman has moved to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been
Second.
properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor of adjournment, and I will discuss when we return. Please indicate by raising your hand. All right, the meeting has been officially adjourned. We will meet in closed session in about 10 minutes.
Will there be a link available, Mr. Chair? Do we leave this meeting and then go back into closed session?
Yes,
There's
we
different
will
links?
leave this meeting and you have another email to click
Thank you.
into.
Yes,
All right,
10
thank
minutes.
you so very much. 10 minutes.
thank you.
thank you.
And what time we coming back?
3:40.
Thank you.
I was like, make life easier, especially on a number.
On a different link.
Right.
Okay.